Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. This is Anonymous T. Hope you're having an amazing day today. Today, I am reacting and reviewing Power Book 2, Ghost, Season 2, Episode 2, Selfless Acts. So let's get right to it. Tariq's grandmother was arrested for DWI. As a result of this, he got taken down to the station. And the issue is Yaz now has to be put in foster care. So now it results in Tariq having to work once again with Method Man and working now with Tate to potentially get his sister out of foster care and back in a stable environment since she can't stay with Tariq since Tariq is on a college campus. Also, I felt this episode focused heavily on Kane. Even though he may have not had as much screen time, he pretty much was behind a lot of things that were happening. So essentially, Tariq tells Brayden, to be the person in charge of running the product because he has to figure out his own situation with Yaz. Plus, he has to navigate through this Jabari Reynolds murder case to make sure it doesn't get tied back to him and Kane. So he's got all this other stuff to deal with. So he tells Brayden basically to take the reins and, that he trusts him. So Brayden takes the reins and drops off the product at Yale to Miss Effie, who is getting busy with another lady who plays on some sports team. And, interrupts her, drops off the product, and then bounces. Well, shortly after, Effie calls Brayden back and is like, hey, there's an issue. Who stepped on this product? And he's like, wait, what product? I don't know. Like, I just got it. And so she's like, well, you need to figure it out and come back. So basically, somebody had switched out the product for sugar, put confectious sugar in there, and basically then put that in for Monet. So as a result, they obviously can't move this product. So Brayden meets up with Effie and whoever she's working with at Yale, and then he tries to play peacemaker, which doesn't work, and ends up getting beat up. And everybody's all fighting and this and that, and so it's just a hot mess. So eventually Tariq gets there and, sees the issue, sees that obviously somebody was messing with the product. He brings Diana. So Diana and Effie, they don't have, a good initial meeting because, Diana thinks, potentially there's something going on with Effie and Tariq. And then Effie doesn't like Diana's energy. So it's just a whole hot mess, their whole exchange. So, essentially she's trying to, navigate everything, and Tariq is explaining like who's in the business and everything else. So then we move forward with Kane, who now is feeling himself. He's going to Mecca's penthouse. He has like a penthouse on like the 59th floor. He's doing really well for himself. We really don't have too much details about his life in terms of how he amounted to all this wealth, if it all came from drug dealing, if it all came from other businesses. We have no clue. And the friend that he was with that killed basically his whole team, his friend somehow followed him to this penthouse, into this luxurious apartment, and is at, the bottom one camera, taking video of everything. And then he's on like Instagram Live or some sort, and he ends up, Mecca approves for him to get sent up while his chef is like, slicing away this knife just in preparation of something to go down. And then the guy comes up and immediately Mecca basically starts pushing back his fingers, basically saying, hey, we don't want people to know where you're at. People don't need to know every single, part of your surroundings, this and that. And if this is going to be an issue to where you're not going to be stable and you're not going to be professional, then Kane, I'm not working with you, because ultimately it's going to fall back on Kane. So then we move forward, with Zeke. He is entering the NBA draft. He does his little presser. It doesn't seem like he's still like completely on board with, going into the draft. And shortly after that, Drew meets with him and basically tells him that Monet has this whole retirement plan, that they're going to follow him, whatever team he plays on, and that this is a part of her exit strategy out of the business, allegedly. And Zeke isn't feeling any of this and basically said that there's going to be somebody in particular he's going to miss, which we all know is Carrie. And so then he meets up with Carrie, and I think Carrie initially, was maybe thinking they could have another hookup of something potentially, but that didn't happen. He basically came over to break up with her, and then he leaves, and across the street is Kevin, the detective, who is watching Carrie, and then immediately like bangs on the door to her place and then comes in, and he's like already starting stuff, and he's like, well, I see your couch has moved, and he just has like an axe to grind for Carrie. Like, he is obsessed with making sure that she goes down for something, and I don't know what happened in their past that has him so obsessed with her and so obsessed with taking her down, but he is just not here for it. So now he's trying to figure out what Carrie's alibi is for the Jabari Reynolds murder. And, she basically then eventually fesses that she was with Zeke. And he's like, oh, you were with Zeke from the hours of 7 to 11 p.m. And, I need to make sure Zeke corroborates this. And you better not call him or try to, make sure that he says the same thing as you or coerce him into saying the same alibi, or I will make sure that I have you disbarred. And he is just on one. So next thing you know, as Tate's working on his contingency plan to get back into politics and get a better position, Simon basically tells him about an opportunity at Stansfield to take Jabari Reynolds' position essentially temporarily, and then he can also basically moonlight and get some information on the Weston family, which will lead to information about the guy that he is trying to find out some scandals about so he can take his position in office. So, and then he has him look up, the conical program that Tariq is in. And then, basically, since Carrie's the head of it, he's like, this also will be worth your while. So now Tate is a part of this ethics class with Carrie, and it's just a hot mess because, Tariq isn't feeling any of this, and there's already tension already between Carrie and Tate, so I'm not sure if they're trying to lead in the direction of them hooking up, but Tate definitely wants to, and is definitely dropping all of the hints that he is here for whatever Carrie has to offer him. Next, we have Tariq, who is struggling what to do with this burner phone because obviously he cannot keep it on him now that the police are aware that this is a potential point of contact between Jabari Reynolds and his last contact potentially before he ended up getting murdered. So therefore, somehow this burner phone needs to be disposed of. So originally, he was thinking of potentially planting it in Carrie's office, but then later on, he just decided upon essentially burning it while his friend Braden was at Rush Week for this fraternity, and basically took out the memory card, also took out the phone, and he's having a struggle basically getting rid of it because the primary use of this burner phone was to be in contact with Tasha, his mother. And so while she was in prison, he could easily talk to her or just simply go visit her, but now that she's in witness protection, he has no way to really fully communicate to her. And if nothing else, he was a mama's boy and always loved talking to his mom. If nothing else, he and his mom had a close bond, and he did not have the same level of respect or trust for ghosts. So he is struggling because he feels like the moment that he lets go of this burner phone, that he's essentially letting go of all traces and all forms of contact with his mother, Tasha. So it is a struggle, but he eventually lets it go. Also, the police is camped out at what looks to be Jabari's office. It's supposed to be Tate's temporary office. And they are questioning basically all of the students. And so they question Tariq. And Tariq basically finds out that Carrie is the prime suspect. And, basically is trying to work on a plan and maneuver some things to make sure that the police keep focused in on her as the main suspect. And then we go to Mr. Sachs, who's gotten a haircut since the first episode, and he is sleeping with the opposition. And after they hook up, she basically lets him know. She spills about what's going on in the Jabari Reynolds case. She spills that Carrie, who formerly used to work at the prosecutor's office, and then immediately when she got the job at Stansfield, also got Jabari Reynolds the job. So there's already a conflict of interest there. And, also says that one of her students is also Tariq St. Patrick, which again, then Sachs realized that Tariq is linked to potentially another murder, that this could be, crazy for him and Method Man. So the next day, Sachs reports all of this to Method Man, and Method Man's face changes when Sachs says is Carrie's name. So, and to let him know any updates on Carrie and what happens with this case. So obviously Method Man and Carrie have some sort of past together. We don't know the extent of it at this time, but Method Man did show up to Carrie's place to try to have a talk with her, and there was just like a hostile response to Method Man. So obviously whatever did happen between her and Method Man did not end on positive terms, and things are really icy. So as of now, we do not know what's going on with that. So next, Kane rolls up on Drew, and this is literally the morning after they find out that, their drugs were from Rico were swapped out for Domino's confectious sugar. And, Kane basically is like, hey, I got a new connect that we can move product, we can get the family back together, this and that. And Drew's a little bit skeptical and everything else. And so then, next thing you know, once Monet finds out about the switch of the drugs, she's pissed and said, okay, well, it looks like we're having cake for dessert, and that's on that. Like, she's just been on one this entire episode. Both times she keeps hearing this New Edition song, Can You Stand the Rain, every time they drive by her house. So obviously it's a memory of something from her past or someone of her past. Also, it's her anniversary with Lorenzo, and they have their usual conjugal visit with a little bit of food and a card and whatever else. And Monet's wearing the same lingerie that Lorenzo likes her to wear. However, she's bored, she's unhappy. She mentions, the Ramirez murder, I guess to piss off Lorenzo, and it just already shows that there's just still some drama, there's still some tension there, and this and that. So then it ends up being that, Monet then meets with Kane about potentially having a new connect. He kind of goes over, that essentially they need to work together. This is his way back into the family, even though he did some lying and conniving to do it, which is going to eventually come back to bite him. And the fallout is going to be epic whenever it happens. So essentially he gets to move back home, and then Diana starts getting suspicious in terms of what the timeline is of how soon they realize that the product was switched out versus how soon Kane called Drew. So Diana is slowly on to Kane and trying to put the pieces together on how all of this got flipped and how Kane immediately is back into the family. And then Diana also meets with Yeffy on the side, not Yeffy, Effie on the side, because she now is, really trying to go back to school. I think she still wants to go back to school, obviously, to be closer to Tariq, which Monet called out, but she's thinking that she can get, a bachelor's or master's degree in accounting so that she can manage the money for Zeke's career, or at least be a financial advisor, because we all know that sports athletes go broke within 5 years after retirement because they're taking care of their family. They're spending all so much money on all of these things, and this still trying to keep up that lifestyle well after they're no longer playing in the league. So she felt if she takes some accounting classes that could be good on the business side of things. And so then Monet basically tells her, like, no, you're just good for the streets for now. And it's like, well, Dad, like, you don't want better for your daughter? So I kind of felt a certain way about that, because that was kind of cold. And so then That prompted, Diana to meet with Effie essentially because she wants to know how Effie is going to Yale and is still moving product on the side and like wants to teach her some things. And so that's when she also gave her the tidbit when Diana's still trying to figure out, how they got robbed, how they got, switched out of their product and everything else. That's when, Effie started to put the clues into her on start to how to think, like a business person when you're involved to this extent and to this deep into the business. So that's where we are on that. And then finally at the end, a couple of things take place. One is Zeke is now screwing some random at his place, and basically Kevin the detective bum rushes them. And it's so crazy because this girl, she is like filming the whole thing, and she's like, well, don't touch him, don't attack him, and this and that, and I'm gonna record all of this to make sure nothing happens. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a disaster. He just announced that he is trying to go into the NBA, and already he has problems. Already this is about to be shady to where no teams are going to want him, and he's going to end up staying somehow at Stansville. I do not see a situation where he ends up in the NBA anytime soon because there's too much heat on both of these murders that happen on the same campus, and whether Zeke likes it or not, his people are tied to it in some capacity. So it's just not going to end well, unfortunately. And I have a feeling the girl that he just slept with is going to leak this video online to show that Zeke has too much off the court issues, which in fact is going to turn off NBA teams for wanting to draft him onto their squads. And then the last thing was finally there was a meetup at Junior's restaurant between Mecca and Monet. However, Monet knows Mecca as Dante. So they were supposed to go inside and like have a bite to eat or whatever. So it sounds like they used to be lovers. It sounds like they used to be involved pretty seriously back in the day. We don't know. I'm assuming this was right before, she got married, I'm assuming, or got, tied up with Lorenzo. And so little hints that he was doing throughout the week was, of course, playing the new edition song, Can You Stand the Rain? But he also does this thing where he like moves her trash can and there's nobody else that does it. And she said that her dad used to always wonder who was doing this and he could never figure out who it was. So she knows him as Dante. However, she's basically telling him that she's got too much going on right now and she's married and too much time has passed. So she's not trying to see it for the both of them, even though it sounds like they had a pretty intense past of whatever happened as lovers. And so he gives her his business card, and then Monet basically walks away. But Monet doesn't know that this is the person she is actually going to be in business with. So that eventually is going to come out as well. And now that Mecca, aka Dante, knows that essentially he's going to be in business, with Monet's son, that's going to create a whole nother dynamic. So that is where we are. We still do not have Ramirez, being pronounced dead or found yet. And, so we still got a lot of loose ends and a lot of things that are coming up down the pike. And so next episode is going to be them obviously questioning Zeke to try to find out his alibi, if it aligns with Carrie Milgram's alibi that they were together, because Kevin is like dead set on making sure that Carrie is, charged for this murder as some sort of payback. So maybe we'll get a flashback episode or we'll get more context as to why he is so obsessed with her. But that is all that I have. It was a very quick episode, a lot of things, a lot of moving parts that took place. Those of you, if it's your first time viewing my channel, welcome. Those of you who've been back multiple times, thank you so much for your continued support. I love interacting with each and every single one of you. I read all of your comments. I try to like all your comments or respond to some of them. But I am deeply grateful and appreciative of each of you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. You guys are loyal and awesome. Like I cannot say it enough. I cannot stress it enough. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment that I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys again very soon. Have a nice rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.